Europe has a long and troubled history. For centuries, the continent was plagued by conflict. Wars were frequent and devastating. These conflicts arose from various factors, including religious differences, territorial disputes, and power struggles. One notable period of conflict was the Napoleonic Wars in the early 19th century. These wars spread across Europe, leaving a trail of destruction and death. The rise of nationalism in the 19th century further fueled tensions, leading to wars like the Italian and German unification wars. The colonial ambitions of European powers also led to conflicts beyond the continent's borders. By the early 20th century, Europe was a powder keg of unresolved grievances and simmering rivalries. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo in 1914 ignited this powder keg, plunging Europe into World War I. Section 2. The Cataclysm of World Wars, a Turning Point. World War I was a conflict unlike any before it, with unprecedented levels of violence and destruction. Millions of soldiers and civilians perished, and the war shattered the old order in Europe. Empires crumbled, and new ideologies emerged. The Treaty of Versailles, intended to bring lasting peace, instead sowed the seeds for future conflict. The harsh terms imposed on Germany created resentment and instability. The interwar period saw economic depression, political extremism, and the rise of totalitarian regimes. In 1939, Europe was once again engulfed in war. World War II was even more devastating, with the Nazi regime unleashing unprecedented horrors. The Holocaust remains a stark reminder of human depravity. World War II left Europe in ruins, serving as a stark warning to humanity. Section 3. Forging a New Path. The birth of the European Union. From the ashes of World War II emerged a profound desire for lasting peace. European leaders embarked on a path of unprecedented cooperation, leading to the creation of the European Coal and Steel Community, ECSC, in 1951. The ECSC placed the production of coal and steel under the control of a supranational authority, symbolizing cooperation. The success of the ECSC paved the way for further integration. In 1957, 6 European countries signed the Treaty of Rome, establishing the European Economic Community, EEC. The EEC aimed to create a common market, eliminating trade barriers and fostering economic cooperation. The Maastricht Treaty of 1993 formally established the European Union, EU, with a single market, a common currency, and closer political cooperation. The EU transformed a continent once riven by conflict into a zone of peace and prosperity. It represented a remarkable achievement in international relations. Section 4. Pillars of Peace. How the EU prevents conflict. The EU's success in maintaining peace in Europe can be attributed to a multifaceted approach. Economic integration, with its free movement of goods, services, capital, and people, has created a high degree of economic interdependence. War between EU members would be economically devastating, making it highly unlikely. Political cooperation is another cornerstone of the EU's peace-building architecture. The EU provides a forum for member states to resolve disputes through dialogue and diplomacy. The Schengen Agreement, which abolished border controls, has further fostered unity and cooperation. Free movement of people has promoted cross-border ties and a sense of shared European identity. The EU promotes democratic stability within its member states, upholding the rule of law, human rights, and democratic principles. The EU's commitment to democracy serves as a bulwark against extremism and intolerance. In Section 5, the unthinkable. Europe, without the EU. The EU has been instrumental in maintaining peace and stability in Europe for over 7 decades. The prospect of the EU's collapse raises concerns about a return to the continent's troubled past. Without the EU, the risk of conflict in Europe would increase significantly. A resurgence of nationalism could lead to a breakdown in communication and trust between European countries. Economic crises and trade wars could follow the EU's demise, leading to trade barriers and economic disruption. Border disputes, a common source of conflict throughout European history, could re-emerge. Without the EU's framework for resolving disputes peacefully, countries might resort to military force. On the global stage, a weakened Europe would have a diminished voice. Without the EU's collective weight, individual European countries would be more vulnerable to pressure from larger powers. This could lead to a more unstable and unpredictable world order. In the worst-case scenario, the collapse of the EU could pave the way for a return to war in Europe. The EU's demise would be a tragedy not only for Europe, but for the entire world. Section 6. The EU, a beacon of hope in a turbulent world. The European Union stands as a testament to the power of cooperation and the transformative potential of peace. What began as a coal and steel community has evolved into a political and economic union that has brought peace and prosperity to a continent once ravaged by war. The EU's success in maintaining peace is a remarkable achievement in human history. The EU's model of integration offers a roadmap for building a more peaceful and prosperous world. However, the EU is not without its challenges, including economic disparities, the rise of populism, and the ongoing debate over further integration. Despite these challenges, the EU remains an essential institution for maintaining peace and stability. Its commitment to multilateralism, dialogue, and the rule of law is more important than ever. Section 7. Challenges and opportunities, the future of the EU. As the EU looks to the future, it faces both challenges and opportunities. Addressing these challenges and seizing opportunities will be crucial to ensuring the EU's continued success. One of the most pressing challenges is the rise of populism and nationalism within member states. These movements often promote nationalist agendas and are critical of the EU, posing a threat to its unity. Another challenge is the need to address economic disparities between member states. While the EU has promoted economic growth, disparities persist between richer and poorer member states. The EU must also adapt to a changing global landscape, including the rise of China, the assertiveness of Russia, and the unpredictable nature of US foreign policy. Despite these challenges, the EU has significant opportunities to strengthen its role as a global actor. The EU can leverage its economic and political weight to promote free trade, combat climate change, and address global challenges. The EU can also play a leading role in promoting democracy and human rights around the world. By embracing cooperation, solidarity, and a commitment to its founding principles, the EU can continue to be a beacon of hope and progress.